Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Reading Little Blue Books Out Loud While Stoned. Today we're going to do part 5 of Little Blue Book number 467, titled Evolution Made Plain, written by John Mason. And here we go. From the exposition of natural selection, it will be seen that all the laws of organic development, either of individuals, varieties, or species, fall under two heads. Those of heredity, the harking back to ancestral characters, and those of environment, all outside influences. Variation, which seems so contradictory of the law of like producing like, is in reality a result of heredity. Offspring inherit traits, more or less repressive in one or both parents in different degrees. This is variation, The gist of the matter is heredity transmits or transmutes. The print's kind of smudged. Transmits to environment the ancestral traits or characters, good and bad, of each creature. From these inherited traits, environmental laws select and nourish those best fitted to each particular environment, and neglect, repress, or destroy the less fit. At the birth of the individual, heredity has done its work for good or ill. Then, environment receives the legacy bequeathed by its ancestry and completes the job. Whether for the individual's weal or woe depends both upon the quality of the material, heredity handed down, and upon the character of the particular environment that works upon the material. As prior to birth heredity is the only factor in producing the individual, the absolute necessity of preventing the reproduction of the unfit, the inferior, becomes apparent. As after birth environment is the only factor or sum of factors in this production, the making the best possible environment for everyone is the one absolute essential. The individual man, no less than other organisms, is a creature of heredity and environment. This is as true of his intellect and of his moral character as of his body. He is not a thing separate and apart, but a link in the chain of cause and effect. He is orbit-bound as planets are. Every thought of his brain, every desire of his heart, every deed of his hand is a natural and, circumstances considered, unavoidable result of the laws of nature, working in and through him. As surely as every cause produces an effect, and that every cause is itself an effect of a prior cause. In cases where opposing forces or influences tend to move the will in different directions, it obeys the stronger, follows the path of least resistance. It cannot do otherwise, no more than Newton's apple could have moved forward the moon. Scientists are generally agreed that none but inborn traits, the inherited ones, are transmissible to posterity, though Dr. Kramer has recently furnished some evidence to the contrary. If the generally accepted view be the true one, then of course acquired characters, the improvements of environment, die with the individual. Certainly environment cannot put into the individual what it had no capacity for at birth. It can only develop what is already there. Hence the conclusion, we must improve the environment for the good of the living generations as they arise. But above all, prevent the reproduction of the unfit for the incalculable benefit of the countless generations that are now waiting their turn in the womb of the future. Man is such an egotistical creature, being near relative of the gods, as he imagined, and being specially created and made lord over the other creatures, that he has always regarded himself as above and beyond nature and not subject to her laws, or only so far as his body was concerned, that being the one link connecting him with nature. As the little boy evolved from his inner Pardon me. Excuse me. Okay, turning the page seems to be a difficult subject. Okay. As a little boy evolved... Pardon me. As the little boy evolved from his inner consciousness, his idea of the camel, of which he had never seen even a picture, so man in olden times evolved his theories of the origin of the world and of himself, and the part he was to play in life, according to his primitive way of thinking, the earth. Way of thinking, the earth, which he regarded as the center of the universe, was a very small affair, over which nature presided as a sort of cell trap, whose rulership was subject to interference at any time by the great king. According to his theory, there were two sets of laws, natural and divine, and they were often in conflict with each other. But man always had the right to appeal his case to the higher authority when not satisfied with nature's rulings. She had neither part nor jurisdiction in the human mind or soul, that coming not by way of her, but directly from God. This was essentially the belief of millions for thousands of years, and it is the belief of millions today. This is the soil in which nearly all the creeds of today are rooted. The old theologians made a distinction between God's works and nature's works, divine laws and natural laws. It is because of this dual idea of God and nature that the most fruitful scientific discovery of all time is barred from the schools in some states and denounced as atheism from many a pulpit. Those who hold to the old theology do not realize how completely science has destroyed the foundations of their ancient belief, nor have they any conception of what an incalculable service modern thoughts has been to religion in clearing it of impediments. The bringing of science and reason to play in the progress of man, the bringing of the blind forces of nature more and more under subjection to his enlightened intelligence. This is but nature expressing herself. Having built up a higher plane, the human plane, nature works upon that to refine and ennoble herself, not purposely, or only so far as man works with a purpose. All is nature. Ooh. And that's the end. Quite a few blank pages. That's the first time I've seen that. Probably 5 or 6 blank pages at the end. Alright. Well, that finishes part 5, and this is going to be a short one. And the final part for Little Blue Book number 467, titled Evolution Made Plain, written by John Mason. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next Little Blue Book.